Hi there, it's Fletcher at TCMedia with a quick tutorial on Zoom, the ultra-popular video conferencing system that we hope you will consider using to produce talk shows from home and submit for us to broadcast on our channels. We'd love to see that. We're here to help and support that. So here is a quick Zoom tutorial. We're going to focus on those aspects of Zoom that are most helpful to talk show production. If you want to look at the full list of video tutorials that Zoom has, just go to resources at the top right of their web pages and you'll see video tutorials. There are quite a few and they're more comprehensive than this is going to be. So we are looking at my Zoom profile. I have a free Zoom account, so keep that in mind. If you need to record more than 40 minutes in a Zoom session, which is what the free accounts are limited to, contact us. We can help out. We have a paid Zoom account that can go longer than that. Okay, I'm going to click on Meetings under my profile. I'm going to schedule a new meeting. Meetings can be scheduled out in the future. I am going to schedule this one for about now so that we can take a look at it right now. There are a few things to look at under the meeting preferences, the meeting settings. Requiring a password is something that I believe Zoom is going to start implementing across the board. You will have to have a meeting password. Your participants, your guests will have to have a meeting password, so keep that in mind. I'm going to enable video for host and participant, although I don't have a participant for this. It's just little old me. You can enable your guests to join before you appear at a meeting if you wish. You can mute the participants upon entry, and you or they have to then unmute them. You can enable a waiting room if you wish, so that people aren't immediately delivered into your proper meeting, but rather they appear in a waiting room and you have to approve them in. There are security and privacy concerns that are coming up. Zoom is so popular, the people who try to exploit programs like this are looking for all sorts of ways to exploit them, so let me remind you to always practice safe computing. Never click on a link that someone has sent you. You don't know them, you don't expect the link, you don't know what it is. It's a good idea to kind of never click on links anyway. If it seems to be a link from your bank, for example, call your bank or go directly to their website to try to confirm something. Never give out your information to anyone else. If someone crashes into your Zoom meeting, the host can kick them out and block them from returning. Safe computing is something that you always have to keep in mind. Okay, I'm going to save this meeting and I'm going to go ahead and start it. Now, I have used Zoom in the past, so I have already downloaded and installed their Zoom application. So it's now asking me to allow it to open that Zoom application. If you're using Zoom for the first time, you'll have to do that. And you'll usually get this when you join a Zoom session. Do you want to join with computer audio? If you have another type of microphone, earbuds with a microphone attached or a headset of some kind, then it will give you that option, and we in a moment will look at how to change microphones. So here I am in my Zoom window. I want to point out that you're creating a talk show and thus you want it to look nice. You want your guests to look nice. So plan to have them arrive and you arrive in the session at least a few minutes, maybe 10 or 15 minutes ahead of actually recording the session so that you can help them optimize their view screen for light and for placement. You don't want them to be sort of like this for the talk show. You want them to be appropriately in the frame with a little bit of headroom, but not too much. remember the rule of thirds, eyes at about divide the screen into thirds, both directions, and eyes go about there. Just like you would in the studio and in the control room. Think about that. You want them to shine. You want yourself to shine. So having said that, I will point out something we all know. At this time, viewers of this sort of content, this video conferencing content, we're seeing it everywhere now, are much more forgiving, understanding that there can be internet glitches that happen, slowdowns and freezes that might happen. So don't be overly concerned if there's a brief glitch during a conversation. As long as it's not a substantial glitch, just move right on through it. If it is a substantial glitch that happens, go back and restate what was stated during the freeze or the glitch or something like that. But primarily it's the audio that we're wanting to be as careful as we can about. So you and your guest, if you have a headset, use it. That will improve your audio immediately. If not, be close to your microphone and stay in the same position in relation to your microphone. I'm using my built-in microphone on my MacBook Pro, and it doesn't sound awesome, I'm sure, but it sounds okay. So keep these things in mind. Help your guests to shine. Let's just take a minute and look around the Zoom environment. Notice that if my mouse is off my screen, all of these controls disappear after just a moment. To make them reappear, I have to bring my mouse back on screen, and then I get a lot of controls along the bottom and a few controls at the top. So from the left bottom across, I can mute my microphone. If I do, it's going to pop up a little indicator that I'm now muted. The host can also mute people. This little arrow here gives you some audio options. If I had a headset connected via USB, I would see it there. Same for video. I can pause my video. It just puts my name up like this. If I need to grab a cup of tea, obviously if I'm in a talk show, I'm going to already have my tea ready, perhaps, something like that. And again, the up arrow gives you certain video options. We're not going to go in that. Play with virtual backgrounds if you want. I think those are best left for fun conversations with friends and maybe meetings and things, but not so much for talk shows, unless they're needed because the background is just not acceptable. Managing participants, you really shouldn't have to do this during a meeting, but if you want to take a look, if we had, let's say, 3 or 4 people, they would all be listed here. The host can mute them, turn off their camera, and do some other things, but you really shouldn't need to worry about that. If you're trying Zoom for the first time, or if you're doing something brand new in Zoom during the recording of a talk show, I certainly suggest that you experiment with it beforehand, get an idea of what the behavior is going to be like so that you're not surprised during the actual recording. Now, I keep forgetting to do this, but you might ask your guests, and you might try to remember yourself, that the camera is usually at the top of the screen, and when you're addressing the camera, it's nice to look directly in the camera, as I'm trying to do now. The temptation, the natural inclination is to look down at the people on screen, and that's not too bad. As I say, the viewers of this content are incredibly forgiving and understanding of this, so this kind of look where you're looking around at the different participants is not that big of a deal. But if you can remember to address the camera, if you put a little sticky to indicate, if you don't have a green light, like I have a little green light indicating where my camera is, if you don't have that, or one of your guests doesn't have it and it's hard to remember, put a little sticky dot or something to say this is about where my camera is. Don't cover the camera, of course. Anyway, let's keep this moving. Share screen is a pretty important thing potentially for talk shows. Anyone, you or your guest, can share what's on their screen, and that means PowerPoints, Word documents, other types of documents, even video, browser pages can be shared. And you don't have to share the whole screen. You can share individual programs, individual applications. Let me show you what I mean. If I click Share Screen, whatever programs, applications I have open are going to appear here. I can share just what's in Safari, or just what's in Chrome, or just what's in my Open Finder window. If I had an iPhone or iPad connected via USB cable or even via AirPlay, I could share what's on my iPad or iPhone. That's pretty cool, I have to say. So let's imagine I want to share what's on Google Chrome. Notice the Share Computer Sound checkbox. If I'm sharing a video and I want everyone in the meeting to be able to hear that, I would check that. You're going to want to test that beforehand for volume level testing and so forth. So if I share Google Chrome, everyone in the meeting is now seeing what's on Google Chrome. And when I'm ready to stop sharing, I click Stop Sharing at the top, and we continue. Let's talk about recording. If I want to record this, obviously, for a talk show, we do want to record it. So you click Record, and it begins recording. At the end of the session, it's going to convert the recording into an MP4, a good format for us, and it's going to ask you where you want to put your video files. And so, as we all know, video files are large, so an external hard drive is often a requirement for this, and you'll need to put it somewhere. Zoom does have some cloud recording space that you can use. I don't know what the limitations of that are for free accounts, but you do have an option to save your content on the cloud. But eventually, you're going to have to fetch it from the cloud to put your titles on, your intro, outro, whatever, to submit to us. So if we can help with any of this, we are certainly happy. Reach out to us. We can work with you via Zoom to figure out Zoom or whatever you run into. We're really happy to help. So reach out to us, please. Let's see. I just touched my face. Okay, bad. I think that's enough for now, although let me show you some footage from a very recent TCMedia staff meeting which we're doing over Zoom. And you'll be able to see, because it's just me here in this session, I can't show you some of the different camera moves. When you do have more than one person here, you get choices about how to display the different participants. You can do gallery view, which shows everyone in sort of thumbnail view. That's kind of a nice group shot. But you also have the ability to pin people as the focus, the primary person. So this is like being in the control room at our studio and choosing who is on close-up, which camera to use. Pinning people is very much like switching in the control room. You can also choose what's called speaker view, where whoever is creating audio, speaking or coughing or dog barking, comes up as the primary subject on screen. So that's great. It's a little bit frustrating when the dog causes someone who's not actually speaking to come up. So pinning is equal to switching, and use it to produce your show. In my view, aesthetically, it's nice to have a bit of each of these. Some gallery view to give the viewer a sense of the overall environment for your show, and then some close-ups of the speakers as they go back and forth in conversation. That makes for a nice variety and a nice show. So let's end this, and I'm going to hit stop recording. It's then going to say they're going to be converted when the meeting ends, and that's when it'll ask you, where do you want your files to go? And you have to say, onto my external drive, because I don't have a lot of space here on my local system or whatever. So that's important. We'll see that when I end this meeting. I have only two more things to offer. And one of them is, what if you're having audio trouble with yourself or with another participant in one of these recordings? This is a bit of extra work, but it is something that could work in the case of bad audio that you simply can't figure out in the moment. If you have a smartphone, you can go into, on iPhone for example, you can go into video, Voice Memos is what the application is called. There it is. It usually lives in the control panel. Anyway, you'll find it. Voice Memos. You could, again, this is extra work, I'm sorry, but you could have, if somebody's really having trouble with their microphone, you could record a voice memo, put the phone nearby but just out of shot, and you could have them record what they're saying and then send the file to you for inclusion in your video. This requires syncing and a little bit of extra work, certainly, but if you run into the problem of bad audio, it is an option, okay? Android's going to have something very similar, no doubt. Okay, let's end this meeting. End meeting as the host. I can end the meeting for all. We're then going to get a conversion notice, and at the end of this conversion, it's going to ask me where I want to put the file. So we all know video files take up a lot of space. So as soon as this is done, I need to tell it. It doesn't really remember, I'm noticing from time to time, it doesn't remember where I last put a file. So it always wants to default to my local computer. Here I am, Documents, and I really can't allow that because I don't have a ton of space locally on my computer. So I have to pop that open and say choose a new location. At this point, this is where I'm putting things at the moment. I can choose that. And then I say save, and it's going to save that content, and it's going to open my Finder with that content right there. So to end this, I want to show you an alternative to Zoom. If you're concerned about Zoom's security and privacy, if you just want an alternative, there are many out there. I encourage you to search for them. One that I'm aware of is called Jitsi, and in specific it's called Jitsi Meet. If you search for Jitsi Meet, you're going to come to this web page. They claim they're more secure, more flexible, and completely free without a time limit. So let me show you how easy this is. I'm not going to go into detail, but if you want to start a meeting, you simply give it a name. I'm going to say name. You say go. You're immediately delivered into the meeting environment. It gives you a link to share with your guests, a dial-in number. You can add a password. You can do all sorts of things. Now, can you record a talk show using this tool? Yes, you can. Under the ... at the bottom right, one of the options is start recording. I have not used Jitsi for this kind of recording, so you tell me how it works for you if you want to try it out. I assume you can do most, if not all, of the same things that Zoom allows you to do. So this is an option, and there are many. This one's free. It's an open source program for good and bad. I like open source myself, so consider it. Again, all of us at TCMedia really want to encourage and help you with your at-home, your homemade productions. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're here, and you're our community media producers, so we really want to help. If you have some idea you want to bounce with us to see if it makes sense, if you want any help with audio, with video production, with smartphone production, anything we can possibly help, please give us a call, send us an email. We can Zoom or Jitsi together to figure things out. So I'm going to stop there, and I will see you soon. Bye.